We've learned how to contain this incredibly powerful drive called Chemdas Mammon using Yira. Today, we're going to learn how to take this insatiable drive and tame it, calm it, in order that we can begin to really work with it. The primary default go-to of Chemdas Mammon is insatiable hard work. All consumed with the acquisition of assets, of money, of wealth that fills every single space that we have. And the Mesilas Yesharim says that drive in Chemdas Mammon, to be a workaholic, to fill your days with work, your head with work, thoughts of work all day long, is the primary obstacle to a person beginning to grow as a Jew. And then he teaches us what the tool is in the Torah to tame that, to control it. Let's learn it together. There are three things which cause a person to be very far away from Zehirus, which is the first step in growing. The first, is exerting yourself and being consumed with this worldly things. He says, behold, this tipple and tirda, this involvement and preoccupation with making a living, I've already spoken about them. When a person is consumed by the matters of this worldly things, his thoughts are literally imprisoned by the chains of the load that's on their head. It's impossible for them to focus their attention on their spiritual actions. You know what it's like. You've had a busy day at the office. So much has gone on. Issues with people, worries about customers, problems with suppliers, employees, bosses, managers, and your head is consumed with thoughts regarding engagements with this world, with making a livelihood. And when your head's full with that, there's no space for it to think about Hashem, to start planning how you're going to grow, spend some focused time learning, absorbing Hashem's lessons is impossible. That, says the Mesilas Yesharim, is the primary go-to for the Yetzer Hara. It's the primary obstacle that stops us from growing. Chemdas Mammon consumes our mind and our life. V'achachomim, our sages, Aleim HaSholem, says the Mesilas Yesharim, Bir oisam zeh, when they saw this, Amru, they said in the Mishnah in Pirkei Ahavas, Heve mema'it ba'asek v'asok b'Torah. Work progressively less and learn Torah. That's the tool that you need to tame this unquenchable drive that will consume your life. A person has to work in order to earn a livelihood. But to work excessively, it's not a necessity to work so much that your work fills every single space of your life and leaves no space for serving God. Therefore they instructed us, our sages, likpoya itim la Torah, to have fixed times for learning Torah, which never move for anything, which our desire to make money never steps into that space. No work goes into those hours. Our headspace is freed at that time from any thoughts of business, and it's focused on learning. That is the tool, absolutely essential to taming this drive called Chemdas Mammon, which otherwise will run rampant in your life and will not allow you to put 1 foot forward in Avodas Hashem. Because you won't have time and you won't have the headspace. And those are the two crucial things that you need in order to move forward in your service to God. It's absolutely incredible. The Torah is so explicit, so clear. To contain Chemdas Mammon, you need Yira. To tame it, calm it down, you need Koveya Itim B'Torah. You need fixed times to learn God's Torah. Let's carry on a little. I've already mentioned that this is the most important necessity for a person in order to get to the level called Zehirus, which is stage 1 in our growth. Rabbi Pinchas says, Torah mavia lidei Zehirus. Torah brings you to a stage called Zehirus. V'zulosa, if you leave Torah, learning Torah, out of the ingredients of your growth strategy, lo yagia elav klal, you will never ever reach even the first rung of Zehirus. That's what our sages said. The person who knows no Torah can never become a chassid, can never grow to great levels of Avodas Hashem. Why is that? Why is it that Torah is the quintessential ingredient for us to begin our path of growth? Hashem created the Yetzer Hara in us. He created these drives. He created the Chemda. And He created Torah as the antidote for that drive. As our sages says, Hashem says, Barasi Yetzer Hara, Barasi lo Torah tavlin. I created the drives in the human being. And I created Torah as the antidote to those drives. V'hinei poshutu. And then it comes out, says the Mesilas Yesharim, that it's obvious. Shema boire lo bara lemakazu ele refuazu. If the Creator only created for this affliction, this medication, then it will be impossible for a person to be healed from the affliction of Chemdas Mammon if he doesn't take the medication which Hashem created for that, which is called Torah. And that has to be taken on a regular basis, every single day. As the Chachamim said, you have to be Koveya Itim la Torah, fixed times to learn his Torah. Anybody who thinks that they can escape from the grips of Chemdas Mammon without Torah, Eino ela to'eh. You're making a grave mistake. And you'll only see your mistake at the end when you die from the sins that you commit as a result of an uncontainable chemda. This Yetzer is incredibly powerful in the person. And without you even knowing it, it grows, gets stronger, until it eventually controls your entire life. And if you do every plan and every strategy in the world to try and defeat it, but you don't take the medication that was created to tame it, Shehi HaTorah, which is the Torah, K'moisha kasafti, lo yeda v'lo yagish b'sik boires cholyoy. He won't even know, he won't even sense the growing taiva inside of him. Until he dies from sin and destroys his neshama. There's one of two tracks as a Mesilas Yesharim. Either you're going to let Chemdas Mammon grow rampant inside of you until it pervades your entire life, and no matter what you do, it's going to get stronger and stronger until you don't even realize that it's the driving force of everything that you do. Or you can learn Torah. Fixed times to learn Torah every single day, which you never compromise for anything. Nothing moves that time. No work gets done. Your headspace is free to learn in that time, focused learning. That Torah is the only thing in the world that God created to tame Chemdas Mammon. He goes on to explain how it is that it works, which is not the topic for now. But I want to share with you his end piece, which is just magnificent and really ties in what we learned about Yira as well. You see, because learning Torah has two facets to it. There's one that Torah gives incredible spiritual energy to a person's neshama. The Ahavas Levavos says it, many others. The energy that it needs in order to fight these battles and take control of our body and overcome Chemdas Mammon. But the Torah's content itself also teaches you how to defeat Chemdas Mammon. It teaches you how to grow. And those two in combination are the lethal potion that are required in order for a person to tame and contain Chemdas Mammon. Doesn't these incredible words share with you a question in them and what I think the answer is? He says, Achim hu oisek b'Torah. But if a person does spend time toiling in Torah, bir oisoi drachea tzivuea v'az horosea, when he sees its pathways and its instructions and its restrictions, he sees the framework that Torah lays out for a person in life. Hinei sof sof me'elav yitchadesh boy hitoirerus. Automatically, eventually by itself, there will be an awakening inside the human being sheyevayayu el haderech hatoiv, that will bring you to the good path. This is what our sages said. Halavai oisi ozvu v'soirasi shamaru shamaor sheba machziran lemutav. Halavai, says Hashem, they should desert me, leave me, but keep my Torah, because the light in that Torah will bring them back to real goodness. What does that mean, that Chazal? Who on earth would desert Hashem and keep his mitzvahs? That's what I'd like to ask you. If you desert Hashem, it's usually because you don't want to keep his mitzvahs. The obligations that come with belief in God are the motivation to leave God behind, to live a life of hefka, to do whatever you want, have no obligations, restrictions, constraints. But Hashem's got a concept which he describes where he says, what I would love, alavai, that my children should leave me, desert me, but keep my Torah. Because then the light in that Torah will bring them back to me, will bring them back to goodness. What does that mean? So I'd like to share with you what I think. The Torah, when you learn it, has a very selfish motivation to propel a person into keeping Torah and mitzvahs, which we've spent this entire series learning. It's called Yira. There's all self-interest. What we learned and studied was the section on how to become wealthy, how to satiate my Chemdas Mammon through keeping Torah and mitzvahs, giving tzedakah, having fixed times to learn Torah, Yira, and all that goes with it. Being honest, integrity, staying away from sexual promiscuity, tefillah, all those were driven and motivated, and we were thrust into them because of chemdas mammon. That's a very selfish motivation to do mitzvahs. That's what Hashem says, Alavai oisi azvu, let them leave me behind. Forget about me. Just keep the Torah for what the Torah is motivating you for. Keep the Torah for your own interests. Not for God's interest, for your own. Live a life of Yira. Koveya itim b'Torah, and learn Torah, because you know that's what's going to make you productive at work. Because Ama'or Sheboy Machziram Lemutav, says Hashem, when they live a life like that, motivated selfishly, the process of doing those actions in life will bring them back to me. The Yira is going to contain the chemdas mammon. The fixed times for learning Torah is going to tame the chemdas mammon, so it doesn't pervade every aspect of life, and there will be space, head space and time space for avodah to me. Keeping Torah and mitzvahs, even with Hashem out the picture, for your own selfish motivation, says Hashem Himself, that's what's going to bring you to Ava. We're getting there, we're not quite at Ava, but He says this is the process. This process will bring you back to me. Alavai oisi azvu, let them desert me, forget about me. Only focus on yourself. Be self-motivated. What is it that you want? You want money? You want mammon? I'll teach you how to get mammon. But keep the Torah's way of getting mammon. Because it's the Torah's way of getting mammon through Yira, through Kovei Itim B'Torah, which is going to bring you back to me, to Ava. Something quite incredible, which leaves us really with one topic left. And that topic is, how do we get to Ava? We've contained, we've tamed, but we want real love. And there's only one more tool left in our bag, which we haven't yet discussed, and that's tzedakah. How is it that the mitzvah of tzedakah, which we got into and got so motivated for our own self-interest, because we knew that that was the key to real wealth creation, it's that mitzvah which ultimately, if we take the first two steps of Yira and Kovei Itim B'Torah, is going to get us to Ava. How? Where's the source in the Torah that it says that? That's the topic of the next year.